Jamel President grew up less than a mile from the College of Charleston and graduated from Burke High School. He was as hard-nosed and spirited as any player I have ever coached. On the defensive end, he always guarded our opponent's best scorer. His jump shot was picture perfect, and he iced many games with his foul shots. In fact, in his senior year, he ranked 4th nationally from the foul stripe. He played in the backcourt with Anthony Johnson, and they made a magnificent duo. In an NCAA game against Stanford at the United Center in Chicago, Jamel was voted Chevrolet Player of the Game. After graduation from the college, Jamel has given so much back to the community. He presents to youngsters seminars in SAT taking and academics, and conducts clinics and camps teaching the ABCs of basketball. He is also president and CEO of the DAE Foundation. Jamel, congratulations, and a big thanks for your contributions and the role model you have become for the youth of Charleston.
President Benson.
Fundamentally mindful. And tonight, oatmeal recipe edition, we got Janet Carter talking about nutrition, Harry Cornell focusing on academics, and myself will be talking about skill development. DAE TV, fundamentally mindful.
Hello and welcome back to the nutrition segment of DAE TV. My name is Janet Carter. I'm a registered dietitian at MUSC, and tonight we're going to talk about supplements and ergogenic aids. So nutritional supplements include anything like vitamins, minerals, amino acids, herbs, botanicals. These types of things may or may not be safe for you. Vitamin supplements probably are fine, and I usually recommend that student athletes should be taking just a regular multivitamin. But the other things that I mentioned aren't really studied like medicines are, and so there really isn't any very good data on their safety or their effectiveness. So there really isn't any way to know if they would be something that would help you or not, and we're not really sure if they have any side effects. So it's best to definitely speak to your doctor before you decide to take anything, but also know that it's probably best to just stick to a multivitamin. The other type of supplements are called ergogenic aids, and these include anabolic steroids, human growth hormones, and andro, and these have been banned by the NCAA and all professional athletics, and they definitely have very, very serious side effects for anyone, especially the student athlete. So please do not ever try these items. Again, the best thing to do is stick with just a multivitamin, but remember, the most important thing to keep you performing at your best is to get a nice, healthy, balanced diet every day, get plenty of rest, stay hydrated, and stick to your training plan. That's going to help you perform at your best all the time. If you have any specific questions you'd like me to address on the nutrition segment of DAE TV, please email me at dietjc24@yahoo.com. And I also can do private consultations if you have your own personal needs that you would like to discuss. Thank you very much.
PACE is committed to communicating the proper information so that all involved would have a clear understanding of their academic standing during the time of recruitment. Get eligible. All student athletes, any sport, 8th to 12th grade. Here at PACE, we create NCAA academic profiles for eligibility. We explain NCAA status. We do workshops on NC2A and NAIA eligibility. We do transcripts evaluation, core course GPA calculation, review of college boards, and we monitor core courses for proper matriculation. Contact us at pace@outlook.com or www.pace16.wix.com/pace16, or even contact us at pace@facebook.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for tuning in to DAE TV, Fundamentally Mindful. On last week we discussed initial eligibility, full qualifiers, academic red shirts, and non-qualifiers. We also talked about the difference between Division 1, 2, and 3. Today, we will discuss the core. What is the core? Where does the core come from? How does it affect my student athlete? Today, we discuss on DAE TV, Fundamentally Mindful, the core. There are 16 core courses that have to be met with satisfactory production in order to be eligible to participate at the Division I level. The 16 courses to be required for Division I are 4 English, 3 years of math, 2 years of natural physical science, 1 year of a lab if offered by the high school, 1 year of additional English, math, or natural science, 2 years of social science, and 4 years of additional courses from any area above: foreign language, comparative religion, or philosophy.
Even in grade school, Angela May knew what she wanted to do in life. She began her television career as a reporter for Channel 5's Main Streets and eventually became one of the most popular news anchors in Charleston television history. I had a chance to talk with her for a special edition of Quentin's Close-Ups. Well, Angela, you know when I approached you about interviewing you for Quentin's Close-Ups a couple of weeks ago, you told me?
Okay, reluctantly. Because I'm not used to being on this side of the interview process. Right. You know, I like to hear other people's stories. I have like 20 questions I could ask you right now, but he won't let me.
Hey, but the reason why I wanted to approach you and interview you for Quentin's Close-Ups is because a lot of people haven't seen you really since you left Channel 4. Of course, we see you from time to time on the Roper St. Francis healthcare updates. But beyond that, tell me, how are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Better than ever. So thank you for asking.
Yeah. And off camera, we were talking about your 2 kids and how busy you are with them. So as we sit here right now, tell me, how are they?
Oh, they are busy, and they keep me busier than I could have ever imagined, but they make my life full. They are 4 and 2 years old.
That's awesome. And speaking of busy, a lot of people don't know this, but you have your own PR firm, Me Media.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so when I made it was a really hard decision to leave Channel 4 because I love the family there. You and I worked there together as well.
That's right.
But I just knew deep down that something was nudging me, something bigger and greater. Said, the season has ended here. Let's go and do something else. So when I left, I kind of, pondered what to do, and then slowly but surely things kind of fell into place to start, my small little, I guess, you could call it a little boutique media and PR company. And so I have a very small list of clients. But I love and cherish my clients. Roper St. Francis being one of the biggest ones. I mean, what a great team of people to work with. Yeah. And so that kind of helps me feel like I'm still doing media-related work, but just, in my own structured hours and not dark 30 in the morning.
Exactly.
Like I used to do.
And you say something unique, which I really love, is that you work with the companies that you actually believe in.
Yes.
So tell me, how's it like working with Roper St. Francis, knowing that they actually believe in you?
Oh gosh, it's a privilege. I mean, I feel very blessed, and I always have been, and especially more blessed than ever once I became a mom. Yeah. Because working with them is a very flexible schedule. It's not something we do projects. Right. So, we'll go for a busy week, and then we'll have weeks away from each other, and then another one. So it's wonderful. I cherish my relationship with them.
And another company, of course, that believed in you, and we just talked about that, is ABC News 4. And to me, it felt like it was home for you because you really learned a lot there. Take me back down memory lane and tell me, what were those years like?
Gosh. Hard and wonderful and challenging and fulfilling all at the same time. I grew up here, and I knew in high school that I wanted to go into broadcast journalism. So then I went to USC, got my degree, had an amazing experience there, and I knew I wanted to come back home. I also didn't have any money to go and start a job somewhere else at the time. And so I got my foot in the door at Channel 4 with a part-time job as a tape editor.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when they offered me that job, the news director at the time said, we really like what we see on your reporter reel, but we just don't have that open right now. Take a chance, do this job, and then I'll work with you. But I was so scared to do that. And I went home and I told my dad, I said, I did not go to school for 4 years and spend all that money and time to take, forgive me for saying, but like a part-time job. You have this idea as a college student. And my dad said, I have a good feeling about this. And then I remembered a college professor, some of the wisest words that she ever told me, Professor Andrea Tanner, and she said, always remember, no matter where you work, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And that applies everywhere because I remembered that, so every time I went in to edit tapes and learn and everything, I always either wore like the suit, jacket,
You know how tape editors are. They have on this big fleece jacket. And,
because when you're behind the scenes, you can wear jeans and a shirt, but I was always dressed as if I were ready to go on camera, or at least always had it in the car.
That's for success.
And it worked out. Slowly but surely, I got the opportunity to fill in report and then produce, and so I got to learn so many skills all at one place. It was awesome.
And you became one of the best there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And I remember back in 2005 when I was there as a production assistant, you came up to me and you told me that if you needed anything, come to you. And I'll never forget that.
Oh, Well, good.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Well, and it was great working with you then, and
Yes.
and you continue to do so much in the media world.
I'm doing best. Thank you. Thank you. And you know, you touched on Channel 5 because from what I was told, and you just told me this recently too, you were a production assistant there.
Yeah. Oh, so I have a special place in my heart for Channel 5 as well.
Okay.
When I was in high school learning about broadcast journalism, thanks to one of my most wonderful teachers ever, Linda Vaughn, she helped connect me to Channel 5, and they were starting this teen program called Mean Streets at the time.
Yes, of course.
So I got to be a teen reporter.
Lou Parker.
Yes, exactly.
Love Lou.
Love Lou.
Yeah.
I wonder what she's doing.
She's
I
in
miss
LA
her.
now. KTLA.
She is fantastic.
Yep.
And so I got to do that, and it was so fun. And that opened the doorway. So when I went to college, I would come back during all of my breaks, and I would get to work in the studio as a production assistant.
Right there on East Bay.
Yeah.
those were the
Well,
good
actually,
days.
they weren't. Well, when I was in high school, they were on East Bay, but then in college, they had opened up the new building on Charlie Hall Boulevard in West Ashley.
And so, tell me, what was so attractive about Channel 5 that made you say yes to that?
It was just a first opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just surprised that they would want me to be a part of the program. So what teenager, would not accept that? It was great. It was a good starting point, and I even have relationships and friendships that I formed then that I still keep now. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. And speaking of experience, and I forgot to ask you this about your Channel 4 experience, you covered a lot of stories as a news reporter. Tell me, as you put on your memory hat, what particular story sticks out in your mind?
Gosh. Well, there are so many, and I do have a few. So, without kind of rehashing all of that, I think for me, the stories that stand out are the ones that took me to those special little pockets in our community that I may not have a reason to go to on a regular basis. So you get to go to these different small towns and meet wonderful families who may be going through a good time or may be going through some of the worst times. But their situations and their lives in that moment stand out to me. And I still think about those people from time to time. I remember going to, it was terrible. It was a drive-by shooting out in Harleyville.
Oh, yeah.
And a grandmother had all of her grandchildren staying at her home. It was a humble little single trailer. And they were all in the living room, sleeping, watching a little movie, and there was a drive-by shooting. A couple of the children got hurt, had to go to the hospital. And I just going to that scene and seeing the signs of the actual damage and the blood and just the mess and the chaos, that just does something to you. And so, but they seemed very resilient, so I hope that life is much better. But those types of things stand out to me, and I appreciate it because it's sensitive times in people's lives, and you don't want strangers in your face asking you questions. But people trust you, and they open up to you and share those. So I'm grateful for that.
And I want to take it back to September 11th, because tell me, how much did that change your life personally and professionally?
Oh gosh, I mean, everybody. Anybody who was alive and old enough to remember.
I was in high school at the time.
Yeah. And I bet you remember exactly what you were doing when you heard the news.
Yeah, I was in the school's library and heard it on there. CNN's website crashed because of the whole incident.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember thinking, because right after it happened, we first saw a news crawl go across the TV screen, and it said, unofficial report of, an airplane hitting the Pentagon. And so I immediately picked up the phone and called the Pentagon, and a woman answered, and she said, I can't talk now, a plane just hit the building, and hung up. And I mean, then just turmoil just took over. And as we were rushing, the photographer and I, down toward, making our way as close as we could to the Pentagon on foot, because you couldn't drive anywhere.
Right, of course.
We would see all of the military jets flying over. And I remember thinking, are we going to war? Right now. It was a moment that I couldn't ever forget. It was very scary at first. Yeah. And I called my parents, let them know I was fine. Yeah. And then what was really interesting was we worked very late that day. And so that night, they finally opened up the metro. And I could, take the metro back home. Right. And it was, 9 o'clock at night. Wow. Everything was closed except there was a bar or some type of restaurant establishment right across the street from where the Bloomberg building was. nobody seemed to be in there, but their door was actually open, unlike everybody else's.
Wow.
A television was on, and it was, streaming live news. And all of our congressional leaders, all of our senators were all standing. The video was showing all of them standing on the steps.
Right, I remember that.
Of the Capitol building, singing our national anthem. And I remember just staring at it and just tears streaming down my eyes, because in that moment I felt like, wow, united, we truly do stand.
We are.
It was amazing, and it was so polar opposite of how I felt earlier that day. And I couldn't have been more proud to be an American.
Yeah.
It was a great moment.
It really
that
was.
all would be well.
Absolutely.
Ago in Houston. Line drive, pass Barton at first, and down the right field line into the corner. Morales running third, he'll score. Michael Morse to third base, he'll stop there. Justin Smoak in at second with an RBI double. The Mariners now lead Oakland 2-0 here in the bottom of the first inning, and Smoak smoked it right on by Barton at first base. Playing way off that line, and Smoak hit it hard down the right field side. So time is...
DAE TV, find every line. So Michelle, talk about your career, how it all got started, and how the travel to the Charleston area came about.
Sure. I'm actually the daughter of a college and high school football coach. So my dad and uncle coached football at East Carolina, Duke together.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle is the former athletic director at South Carolina and Southern Cal.
Okay.
So my dad's his twin and was his defensive coordinator. And so I knew growing up in this business and seeing how college athletics changed people's lives, it was just something that I wanted to do, felt very passionate about it. So I undergraduate at North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Okay.
And after that, decided to go to a graduate program at Ohio University, which they take 25 a year. It's a big networking opportunity. And from there, you have to do an internship. And I ended up at Georgia Tech.
Nice.
For 6 years.
So you did what Mr. Crimmins was there?
Coach Crimmins was there, so
Nice.
I got there right after his Final Four, and then proceeded into a football national championship.
Nice.
In 1991. So great timing. So 6 years, and certainly a time where there was a big explosion, in college athletics, ESPN sponsorships, game day sponsorships. Right. We had there was a lot going on at that time in Atlanta. They just gotten the bid for the Olympics. They had a World Series team. The Falcons were coming in, so it was in this industry was a great place to start your profession.
Right.
And from there, just moved around. My husband's in the business as well. He works for a sports marketing firm called IMG.
Is that local?
It's actually based, it's worldwide actually, but the IMG college part is based out of Winston-Salem.
Okay.
So we traveled around. I worked at Liberty Bowl, Virginia Tech. The opportunity came here, and you know, said he travels so much, he can live anywhere. What do you think about College of Charleston? So 14 months later, here I am.
Right, right. So you've been here what, a year and a half, 2 years now?
About a year and a little over a year.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned about, you know, the ESPNs and all, you know, how this this industry has really gotten big. I know a big thing now is going on about athletes being paid and compensated. When I ask questions like that, I like to give my feedback on it.
Yep.
And being a former student athlete, I do think athletes should get some type of stipend because we're in 4 years in high school with no job, 4 years in college with no job. So we're 8 to 10 years out of the job market if we don't get a degree by the time we're finished. And I think Northwestern, if I'm not mistaken, have something set up where an athlete have maybe access to some funds if they graduate. Something like that is definitely needed because you know, athletes are coming out of school with no job experience and they're out to the wolves. I know you can't really, you know, say too much about that.
I will say one of the things, and obviously our #1 priority here at the Cougar Club is scholarship money for student athletes. And when you look across the board, 99.9% of all student athletes are going to need their degree. Only 0.1 make it to the next level.
Right.
So my feeling is having the emphasis on education more than the business part, and unfortunately, we were just talking about this, a lot of the TV revenue and contracts have really, some of these budgets have gotten out of control. They've gotten out of control and the focus is not on education anymore. And that's a shame because, like I said, 99.9% of student athletes will not make it to the next level, and they're given an opportunity to come out of their institution with a degree, you know, with absolutely no debt. When a lot of people are coming here and coming out with $100,000, $200,000 worth of debt. So, you know, like I said, I believe in the education. I hope that there's a time, and as this business, you know, evolves and you know, I don't know that they can keep up with the Joneses to that level. At some point, there has to be a breaking point because, especially if they govern themselves to a point where there really are no rules. I mean, there's going to come a point they're going to bankrupt themselves, or at least get in a lot of financial difficulties, which is, you know, like I said, which is one of the reasons, especially being here, we don't talk about all that. We talk about getting a degree at the College of Charleston. We're not talking about the NFL and the NBA and all that. We're talking about take this opportunity and enjoy being in one of the greatest cities in the world. We were just named one of the top 10 cities in the world, and get a degree at the same time. So, you know, hopefully we'll evolve back into talking about education again.
It'll all come together, but you know, just throwing it out there and having people touching that subject, it allows the liberty for that to even be worked out some other way. You know what I mean? As an athlete doesn't have to actually get that check, but they got to get some type of compensation, some type of trade-off where athletes can be comfortable, because we are, and I say we, giving up 80% of our energy, our body, our minds to an institution. So it's a catch-22, but I just wanted to throw that out there and you know, just think about it. So in your position now, educate the people in the community about your job description. What do you do for the College of Charleston?
Sure. We here, there are 21 sports at the College of Charleston. There are roughly 390 student athletes, 250 scholarships for those 390. Some are sliced and diced, some are full scholarships. That bills roughly $4.2 million a year, so we don't pay for it all. We raise $1 million in unrestricted money for scholarships for student athletes. Now we do have some operating budget to that, and then the rest we give to athletics for scholarships. And then we help, when you're at the mid-major level, all sports are not given their full operating budgets. So they're all given fundraising goals as well. So we support all of our coaches in helping them to raise their fundraising goals for their operating budgets. And when I mean operating budgets, I mean just to run their programs,
right.
not the over and above. They're not given that full budget when they start their year.
Right. In our previous conversation, we talked about something that we're focused on. The DAE Foundation is the oatmeal recipe.
Yep.
And which is the main ingredients is education, skill development, and nutrition. And talking about your line of work and the everyday energy you put in, you need those three things.
Yep.
Nutrition to keep your body and mind focused. The skill, you gotta have some type of skill to do what you do, raising money and talking to these
Yes.
And then the education part of it,
right.
Being from different backgrounds, different schools, a lot of education and little things you pick up that add towards what you're doing now. Talk about those three ingredients and how you apply them to your day-to-day life.
My life personally?
Personally?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's interesting. I mean, you're absolutely right. People that eat well and exercise certainly I think have a better endurance. Yeah, absolutely. For because it does take a lot of energy when you're in this industry. It's a 24/7 industry. We're we're doing events. There's games on weekends, and it's not just men's and women's basketball. It's men's and women's soccer and volleyball and tennis and golf, and we're supporting all of them.
Everywhere at one time.
Right. So I mean, we want to support them all. Obviously we certainly have one entity that helps us generate things, but all student athletes are equal in what they're trying to accomplish. Like I said, we're here to try to provide them an opportunity to be in a great city, go to a great school, and participate. With a great school name on their chest every day. So, we just want to support them and all of them in that effort. It's interesting. We talk a lot about, in our meetings, one of the big things coming on and from a budget standpoint to athletics, which athletics supports on their own, is strength and conditioning and nutrition and sports medicine. Everything we do is for the well-being and health of the student athlete. And that's that with the education is everything.
Right.
And obviously providing them with the greatest experience we can here, but that's a big part of it, is their health and well-being.
Right.
And we do whatever we can to support that.
So, Mike, talk about the Mike too growing up in Spartanburg and went to Bowling Springs. I know you know a good friend of mine, a good teammate, Shane McCravey, that was rivalry when you guys played. Talk about the Mike too growing up, and because I'm pretty sure you played sports and was a student athlete. Talk about those days and the trials tribulations, your dad being a coach, and just from a student athlete standpoint?
I definitely was lucky enough to have a father as a coach, so I learned the fundamentals of the game very early. Basketball was my favorite sport. A lot of people, especially in my later years in life, assume I'm a football player, but I actually grew up playing basketball, and it's still my favorite sport. It was a unique experience. I was always had a ball in my hand since I could walk. A lot of basketball camps. My father was a college shooting coach before he became a head high school coach, so the fundamentals of the game, the decision making, and those things, I was definitely helped me overcome my slightly average athleticism. I joke around, but I definitely had a knowledge of the game at a young age, and that's something that you really can't replace. That was an awesome experience. My father being a coach, we moved around quite a bit. I actually attended a different high school my 9th and 10th grade year, so I had the challenges of adjusting to a new system and a new coach as a junior and senior. So went to a more of an up-tempo offense and kind of a running gun style, old Lakers Showtime kind of high school, and then we went to a very half-court set, lots of half-court sets, doing not a lot of pressing defense, use the clock, so to speak. So going from an up-tempo offense to a very ball-controlled offense, and so I've had a good experience in high school learning both styles. I prefer the up-tempo personally, even though in my later years I did the slow-down stuff. But made a lot of lifelong friends, a lot of great competition, played against some guys, played alongside some guys that played professionally as well, so that was some memories I'll always cherish, and it really gave me the foundation and the groundwork to make a good transition into fitness after the Marine Corps and continuing to play basketball for fun most of my adult life up to a few years ago. I'm 37, getting kind of old now, so the knees are feeling it.
So yes, being a student athlete, and I heard you mention, a transition from an up-style tempo to a slow-down tempo, and that's change. That's something we experience in our lives, something we experience with different coaches. And as a student athlete, mentally, you got to be able to absorb that and carry those things out. So, going into high school, did you play in high school? Was there any inspirations to play collegiate ball?
I think that's every kid's dream. We all seeing the level my father achieved as a coach and the folks he was surrounded with. I definitely had aspirations of doing that. But I think that just striving for that goal, and life throws you curveball and gives you change, and it allowed me just putting in the work was necessary to try to achieve my dream. I came up short, but it was definitely something that's helped me as an adult. Just the work ethic, and that's more the biggest thing I took from growing up in the house of a coach and multiple high school systems was having to work. That was the common thread. The common denominator was hard work, and that's in anything in life, whether it's sports or academics or your job. So hard work, universal.
So take us on the transition. How did from Spartanburg to Charleston? I say you mentioned where the intermediate things that happened about Mike too. How did you land in Charleston?
I came to Charleston actually just a young man, early 20s, looking for a change. I've been growing up in the upstate in the mountains and fell in love with the beach. So it's the good time of your life if you're single and not married. It's a good time to make that transition. So I did, and sure enough, Charleston was amazing, and I've been here ever since. The love of fitness and the love of athletics carried me into the fitness industry, and it's something I did as a part-time job, and turns out I found my calling. So it was a good decision.
Right, and the beaches and being the ratio being, well, it was 7-to-1 when I was in school. It's probably 10-to-1 now. So
I did notice that.
It's
definitely something that a young man in Charleston won't miss.
Right,
it's quite obvious when you get here.
Right. So take us, and we met at Pivotal Fitness.
Correct.
Love Chucktown Fitness. We just came through Timeline, and where you helped out with the DAE Foundation and our travel teams. And then transitioned to Chucktown Fitness. Tell us about the growth of you being, because no matter what you got going on, I would always support you. Wherever Mike goes, I'm always supporting. That shows the character in yourself, and following that track, people actually go wherever you go. So talk about the transition and where you're at Chucktown now. What's the Chucktown in the next 2-3 years? I know you got a daycare in there, and that's huge. Great facility, great place, great interpersonal type atmosphere.
Right.
Talk about Chucktown Fitness in the next couple of years.
Well, Chucktown Fitness, I think, is the creation of Zach Conrad. Is a great buddy of mine. I've known him as long as I've known you, and it's kind of like the evolution of our fitness careers came together. And back in about 10 years ago, the fitness industry was primarily like a Walmart. There was lots of big corporate-owned gyms, big box gyms. People come in, do their own thing. There wasn't a lot of emphasis on service. And because of that, the mom and pops and the locally owned gyms kind of fell by the wayside and disappeared in the large part of the country. And I think it's coming back around where people realize they appreciate that local connection and that locally owned option. And we have taken it to a new level. We want to give people the quality of the big box gyms, but with the feel of the hometown gym. And I think that's why this first year has been lights out for us, and its future looks bright.
Nice, nice. And when would the part with the daycare be open? For the
we actually 1 week away. We'll have a daycare in a week. We're adding yoga and bar classes, so we'll be able to service a larger portion of the population and what they like to do. We're a pretty full service gym. We've got training, 24/7 access, general gym access, CrossFitters, boxers. There's just about anything you want with the exception of swimming.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
Right. Being a former student athlete, current student athlete, older student athlete, we are. Our main ingredients are academics, nutrition, and skill development. Being able to run all these different, nutrition gyms and staying fit and everything, those three things have to apply. You got to have great nutrition, which you already know about because you're in the industry. It's got to be skill development to be able to bring people in the gym and have people to. That takes a skill, person-to-person skill. Also, the education about what you do. Talk about those things and how important those three ingredients, not only important to student athletes, but also to former student athletes and people that applies to their everyday living.
Well, I think little jealous of your guys. Growing up, I didn't really have that emphasis on the nutrition side of things, and I learned later in life the importance of doing that and the importance of keeping yourself in top physical condition year-round. I love, most of my time was spent on the court, so I had good basketball shape, but I didn't get as strong or as explosive as I could have if I had, had that knowledge prior. So I think the kids today are definitely going to grow on what we produced. We produced the game, we gave them the love of the game, and now they have all the ability to eat correctly, train properly, and apply that same discipline to the classroom. So to me, the common denominator is all about discipline. No matter what it is, one of the three phases, if you don't have discipline, you're going to sell yourself short as a student athlete, as a professional adult as well. So it's all about discipline.
And talk about the education part of it. You know what I mean? Because you gotta be educated about your body.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Knowledge is power, for sure. I think, and never losing that mindset that you're always in school, like you said, old student athlete. I think I look forward to learning new things my entire life. So I think embracing the concept of accumulating knowledge to your whole life, whether it's your profession, whether it's your personal life, whether it's spiritual, whatever it is that drives you, always focus on getting better at that. Right. Some people go to school for 12 years to be a doctor, some people get a job right out of high school, and even if you get a job right out of high school, you still need to do everything you can to make yourself successful in the career you've chosen, and that comes back to learning. Right. Knowledge is power.
And the last thing, skill development. I mean, you teach someone how to do a bench, how to lift a certain weight. There are certain ways you should be holding your elbows, your knees, 90 degree angle. That's a skill. Talk about how important just not only applying the skill, but knowing the skill in order to be successful in this type of craft.
Injury prevention and proper form are going to be huge, especially as we age. So once the student athlete phase of your life is over and you're just trying to be in shape and be the best 35, 45, 55-year-old person you can be, doing things correctly and repetition. So it's all about, my main goal as a trainer is to have my client no longer require my services one day. That's how I think. Even though I've lost a client and I had to replace that person with a new client, I feel like I've succeeded because they don't need me anymore.
Right. So
just like a doctor or a lawyer, you need their services when you need them, but ideally if you keep needing them, there's a problem. So if I have a client that's kind of graduated, so to speak, that's a victory for me.
Definitely, definitely.